You can go ahead and begin.
Okay. According to a 2016 census from the United States Census Bureau, 3 million children are living with two unmarried parents. I fall into the category of the 3 million children. Both of my parents got divorced in 2016. The divorce of my parents was an influential event in my life and still affects many aspects of my life today. Divorce was kind of a result of the people in my family and the distance between those people. From that came the events of 2016 and the lessons I learned and still carry with me today. Divorce was an event that happened to all 5 members of my family, not just my parents. In my family, there's my mom, my dad, myself, and my 2 siblings, Katie and Noah. In our family, we are really busy, and especially at that time, we were pretty much just busybodies. My sister was in college, and my brother was in middle school, and I was in the middle of high school. My mom was working nights and my dad was working days. So the times when we actually got to see each other, very little. It was also part of our personalities to just be busy and keep on doing something. At the time, our ages really affected our interpretation, as Wood talks about. I was 16, my brother was 11, Katie was 19. Noah was a little too young to really wrap his head around what was going on, and my sister was in college, so she didn't get to see the events leading up to it. I felt like I had most of the better upper hand on it because I knew what was going on and I was able to come to that conclusion. Another part of our family was we were very unstable at the time, just not seeing each other, having clashing personalities, being distant from each other. The people themselves just weren't a unit. That was really an outside factor that affected our openness of our system. Between my family members, there was a lot of distance, contributing to our household norms. Our norms were really to not communicate with one another. My dad would watch the game and my mom would be at work. My 2 parents wouldn't sleep together. There would be no I love you, no kissing. It was very hostile. It was not what I would say a healthy family looks like, and I was able to understand that, but I'm not sure that my brother was. We were living our own lives separate from each other. It was the norm was to be, Abby has a game on this day, mom's going to be gone, dad's going to be gone, and you're in and out of the house. Still, we really tried to be there for one another. Birthdays were important, holidays were important. We were still trying to put each other in the mix, but we weren't ever one solid thing. Our unhealthy norms and customs started to really become evident in 2016. In November of 2016, a day after my 16th birthday, I finally asked my mom, what's going on? What's happening? Like, things became so prominent during that time that it clicked that eventually this whole situation was just going to blow up. My mom didn't really give me an answer at the time. It was kind of I don't know what's happening either. But by December, things really started to fall together. I was laying in my bed, and my dad was talking on the phone. I could hear in the paralanguage of his voice, as Wood talks about, that something was wrong. So I turned my show off, and I paused, and I did something you really shouldn't. I went to the door, and I tried to listen in on what was going on. I heard my dad say, she's going to leave me. And the emotions at that time were just so anger and confused and why and what's going on. But I knew I was the only one who knew about it and that I was going to have to be responsible to take care of my siblings when they found out. By Christmas, silence really became our form of communication, as Wood talks about. My parents came out and told my siblings that they were going to separate. At the time, I really knew that that was going to lead to divorce, but my siblings weren't sure. They were really hopeful, but leading up to the events, I knew that really there wasn't much that could be done. My dad, on Christmas Day, didn't say a word, nothing. He went to his room right after opening presents, and my mom packed her bags, was also very silent, and that was just such a form of communication between them that it was like deafening. My mom moved out a couple days later. She moved to Kansas City, and by June of 2017, the divorce was final. My parents had signed their papers, and things were moving forward. Today, I'm able to look back on all of those times and help me realize all the lessons I really learned from it, even though it was probably one of the hardest times of my life. One lesson I learned is that divorce lasts a lifetime. It's never going to go back and be the same. That house that I lived in as a kid is never going to be the home that I shared with my parents. My relationships today are completely altered from it. I've realized that the nonverbal communication that Wood talks about, that my parents taught me, really flows into my relationships today. One thing that I've really noticed is my mom's form of communication when she was angry or upset with my dad was to shut down, was to stop the situation there and to go off and do her own thing. And that is something I do time and time again if I'm angry at someone. I shut down, I leave the situation, and that's something I really picked up from my parents. Another thing I've learned today is that I have two very individual relationships with my parents now. It's not my parents, it's my mom and my dad. My mom and I have a more parental-child relationship. I'm able to take her advice and understand what she's talking about. And my dad, I'm still in the rebuilding section of our relationship. Divorce was a really hard time for us. We weren't close before then, and during divorce, we really distanced ourselves. So we've been working towards getting better. But the biggest lesson that I've learned from this is that we are actually a healthier system today than we were before divorce, as Wood talks about. Our system prior to this was just sand. We weren't going anywhere. We were constantly walking towards nothing. And today we're working towards homeostasis. We're trying to reach an equilibrium. My parents are co-parenting. My siblings and I are actually closer now. While I am still one of the 3 million children that is affected by divorce, I believe that I still have a healthy, happy family, even though we are living in 2 separate households. Through divorce, we were able to add to our family. My mom's boyfriend has been with us for almost a year and a half now, and he's really a great addition. And so now, on top of the 5 people I have in my family, I consider him one too. We're actually closer than we were, and we're able to reflect on that time. Even though it was a hard event, 2016 is always going to be the year my parents got divorced. But I'm able to see it as it was something other than just moving away. I'm also able to carry all those lessons with me and reflect on them and understand what they mean for me. The divorce of my parents will always affect my life and influence me in the future.
Thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause. Yay! Thank you very much, Abby.